Hurrah! It's Freedom Day. Yes, Freedom Day. Now, you have to forgive me if I get a little bit of a sense of deja vu here. Yes, I've sort of heard this word Freedom Day before. In fact, it might have been back when Boris promised us a very cautious, and indeed it was incredibly cautious, but irreversible, he said, irreversible route out of COVID restrictions, and that must have been, what, I don't know how many months ago, ages ago now, but here we are again. Freedom Day, yes, he means it this time, absolutely, Freedom Day, scrapping of all Plan B rules and restrictions. So what does this actually mean? Well, unless you're in one of the devolved administrations, it means that if we go to nightclubs, we don't have to show a COVID pass or a negative test or anything like that. Now, of course, this is only relevant really to the young, hip, trendy type of people like myself, and not indeed those fuddy-duddies who insist on wearing grey cardigans. They obviously won't be remotely affected by this particular ruling. But most importantly, and I think the thing that most people are going to notice in their day-to-day lives, is the abolition of mask mandates. We no longer need to wear masks where they were previously required, where they're previously mandated, and that includes on public transport and most notably probably in shops. Now, of course, like I say, this doesn't matter if none of this really makes any relevance if you're in one of the devolved administrations. But if you're here in England, you don't have to wear a mask in shops unless you want to go to some very specific shops where the powers that be at these particular businesses, Sainsbury's included, have decided that they're going to take the little bit of power they've got, as in again the devolved administrations, they take the little bit of power they've got over and above, the general rules of the nation. And they are now going to insist that their customers and indeed their staff continue to wear face coverings even though they are no longer legally required. Now, I will later today probably put this to the test. I'm planning to go to Sainsbury's myself. There's one just around the corner from here. I'm going to wander in, no face mask, see what the signs say, see if I get challenged, see what proportion of people are actually still adhering to these rules, and just get a general feel of what that's all about. And I'll publish that footage maybe up here on the channel a bit later today. Now, what I will say is that, of course, masks are still very much a personal choice. If people want to go out and wear masks, I'm very much in the belief that they should be allowed to do so. In fact, there were a few people before COVID was even a word that we'd ever heard before who did like to go out wearing face masks because of levels of high pollution or whatever. And that's absolutely fine. And if you want to wear a mask for whatever reason, whatever personal reason you have, you want to continue to wear a mask, then that is fine. My concern with masks is not that. Right? If I go out and I observe when I go to Sainsbury's or go out in the public later today and I observe a significant portion of people wearing masks, I will be concerned. And it's not a concern based on personal choice and personal freedom, because I've believed about that all along. I've believed I've had every right not to wear a mask if I choose not to. So therefore I can't complain when people choose to wear one, right? But my concern is this. If a large proportion of the population are still wearing masks, firstly, it demonstrates a level of state control, doesn't it? I think the mask is very much a symbol of oppression. It's a symbol of state-mandated control. But more importantly, I think, than this idea of sort of control and mass public compliance, which I think is a dangerous precedent, but more important than that, it shows a mass fear. The people who are wearing masks, by and large, will be doing so because they genuinely believe they still have something to fear from not wearing a mask. And this is the result of a campaign of fear that has spanned the previous 2 years. It's a shift in mentality that has caused these people to believe that they are protecting themselves and protecting others by putting a bit of dirty cloth over their mouth and nose. And my concern, and the one question I'd maybe like to ask these people, not in a derogatory way, but just in a purely, just for intrigue, is at what point do you think you'll be safe to take the mask off? What point, do you feel that it would be the right time to bin your mask? And if you don't have an answer to that question, will you then continue to wear your mask for the rest of your life? And that is a very concerning precedent. And it's going to be prolific amongst a certain group of people, and those group of people will typically be the older people. And it's perfectly understandable. Going back years, the news and the scientists and the politicians, were people that we went to for information and for advice. The news was very much a reporting on facts. It wasn't opinion, and there was no underlying ulterior motives to the news. There was no, slant, particularly, politically or socially, to what was being reported. It was purely facts. This is what's happened. This is what you need to know. And people have grown up on this, and they now believe everything they read in the mainstream media, and they buy into what is effectively the official narrative on all things COVID. Okay, so it's understandable that these people are possibly still living in fear. Boris Johnson himself tweeted yesterday that this isn't over. The pandemic isn't over. Well, I hate to break this to you, Boris. The pandemic is over. The endemic isn't over, as COVID will continue to be endemic probably for the rest of our lives. So if it's not over now, when is it going to be over? When will these people be allowed to ditch their masks? When will they actually inform people that there is no longer anything to be afraid of and we should continue to go back to live full and free lives? When will this happen, Boris? So I'll be interested to see when I go out later today, and not only will I be challenged walking into Sainsbury's for not wearing a mask, and what proportion of people will continue to do so, despite the fact that it has been officially confirmed that we're no longer legally required to, and that would by proxy suggest that there is indeed no actual medical benefit from doing so, as has been questioned by many people, myself included, all along. Stay safe and stay sane, and I'll see you later.